the distress she's going through, because although she's having his kids and Rachel can't have his children, he still doesn't love her. So it's a whole piece of loving who you are and realizing that
what you are,
yeah, and realizing that you're good enough. So this piece is called Good Enough, that I'm working on, and then working with our apprentice from the church on a musical for the youth in October. This year, just really getting key to life messages out. So I'm doing a lot of, well, so far 3. I've had 3 speaking engagements. I was fortunate to speak at the prayer brunch for the Sigma Gamma Rose. Speaking at their youth symposium on Saturday.
Nice.
And then
that's at MATC.
There's one at MATC and one at Marquette. So I'm speaking I'm speaking
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to announce all that. Well, you finna write
There's
it.
a lot.
I'm like, run all this stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
So I like that.
There's a lot. I'm really a busy person.
Yeah.
I'm learning this 2017 to try to have some fun mixed in there.
So compared to 2016 so far, how busy is 2017 so far? Like, it just seems just crazy.
It just seems crazy.
Don't it?
It seems crazy.
Don't it seem like all the possibilities just start
They're just
down
like,
on you?
rain on us.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's just a lot going on, which is good. It's good stuff.
Absolutely.
I love community.
Absolutely.
I love partnering with people I've never worked with before. That synergy is pretty dope. And just different. I just was in Chicago this past weekend doing, I was on the panel for the National Keystones Conference for the Boys and Girls Club. And then I did a workshop, so I'm busy.
Mm-hmm. It's just what you asked for.
I did.
It's just what you asked for.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know how not to do busy.
That's fun. That's fun.
Coming in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you're doing what you love and you're doing your service. You're in your ministry, as you said. Right?
I did.
I don't know if you want to put on your headphones. You can hear things.
Get the beats, the blue beats.
Keep out the flow. You gotta get up on the mic. Bam, 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 bam. You can sing too? You can sing too?
It's like music. I can hear it.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is that time. It's Thursday morning, the Educational Arts Project. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Welcome back. What's going on? I'm your host, Viva Fidel. We are here live, 101.3 FM radio, the Pulse of Milwaukee. We're getting it in this morning, just like each and every Thursday morning. We always say good morning and peace and welcome back to our listeners. Welcome to our new listeners, everybody that's checking us out online, tuning in. What's going on? We want to say thank you and big shout out to all of the underwriters, all of the sponsors, all of the people that support this station and this community platform, and all of the voices that you hear on this platform. Thank you all the past guests, everybody who has been helping to make this platform and this project just phenomenal since we started. It's been crazy. Today is no exception. We're going to jump right into it because I'm excited. Just like every Thursday morning. It's electric. Just like every Thursday morning. Joshua Jones in the driver's seat. I'm hanging out the window, saying what's happening to my people. Just, riding through the place, seeing what's good, having great conversations about how we can come up with solutions, how we can share solutions that are already in effect. How can we network and build our base? How can we collaborate? How can we exchange resources? How can we build this great idea that we have in our mind about how things should be? It starts with education, not only education of our children, self-education, not only education in the public spectrum of schools in the traditional sense, but community education, peer-to-peer education. We're talking about some real live creative arts and education here each and every Thursday. I have the honor and the privilege of introducing you all to some of my great comrades, some of my great friends, some of my collaborators, project partners. It's like crazy, my whole guest list. You can check the archives. They're available on my Periscope TV /Viva Fidel. You can check all of the social networks. You can correspond. We got people that tune in and ask questions and give us feedback from all over, and we encourage that. We appreciate that. This is an ongoing conversation, not just on Thursday mornings, but in between the episodes, people really want to build solutions, and that's what it's all about. That's what I'm all about. So I ain't hard to find. Let's keep it moving. Y'all can reach out to me. We are here live. 414-888-5025 is also the call-in number. 414-888-5025 if you want to chime in live onto the conversation this morning. I have in the studio with me Miss Laketta.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing today?
Everybody say what's up to Laketta. All my listening audience. You heard them? They say what's up. Yo. Yeah, so introduce yourself.
My name is Laketta, and I've lived in Milwaukee since 2001. I work for the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Milwaukee as the Senior Program Manager of Arts Education. So it's a pretty cool job that I get to create a vision for our arts department for a low cost. Kids can take dance, music classes, do visual art mural projects with Fidel Hill at a very low cost, and they're practicing professional teaching artists who went to school. I have a professional background. Our dance teacher at the Davis Boys and Girls Club, his mentor was Debbie Allen. He was on So You Think You Can Dance and choreographs for Empire every now and then. So it's pretty cool that our kids have that exposure, and they get to go to shows with their families at no cost to them.
You just ran down a whole lot. You just even dropped some names in there. You just went to promoting everything else. I'm going to bring this right back. Introduce yourself.
Oh, introduce myself.
Yes, okay. We're going to get back to what you do for a living, some of the people you're involved with, the great influence and sparks that you provide for a lot of our young people through the Boys and Girls Club, which is super important. But I want to talk about just some of your background, because I heard a little bit about your story. Not I heard about it, I heard it directly from you, which was great. I had the privilege of sitting at the table with you at the event we were at the Rep, and big shout out to Milwaukee Rep. And then and we engaged in a lot of dialogue, but you would start telling your story, and you were supposed to come here to the Educational Arts Project before. It didn't happen for undisclosed reasons, but we make it happen around here. We come up with solutions, and so that's what we got it popping. So I've been looking forward to having this conversation. Then I was in that round table with you, and you got to tell your story a little bit. I was like, wow, this is way more than I thought. This is going to be super interesting because I was interested in some of the work that you were doing, and I know what kind of passion it takes to do the creative work in the community on that level. But then to find out some of your creative background and where that comes from, and so just some of your journey. So let's talk about it. Like, you was born in
I'm very
a place
proud.
that I never even heard of before.
I'm very proud. I was born and raised in Paducah, Kentucky, on a tobacco farm. The land that we own, my grandparents own it, and when they passed away, all of the grandchildren and the kids own the land. My first jobs were creating stories on the tobacco farm, and then one day my mother, at the age of 3 years old, she was like, I don't know what to do with this girl. She talks all the time.
So what do you mean when you say you were creating stories for your first job on the farm?
So I would always... My grandmother, I sat at the feet of my grandmother, my dad's mom, and she always told stories about how they got chicken. They would go and get the chicken, wring the chicken's neck, pluck the chicken's feathers, skin the chicken, put it in some flour, and fry it in the pan. And I was like, ew. And then she talked about how she used to walk to school. And she quit school in the 8th grade to work the farm.
It sound like my family. Sound like stories I heard growing up. Gee, keep going.
So I was always fascinated by stories. And we never traveled when I was younger. So again, while my job when I was young was to drop the sticks and the seeds in the ground for the tobacco, I would make stories. I would see faces in the clouds and pretend they were people coming to Paducah, go to Strawberry Land. So I had all of these stories that I would sit and make up and tell my parents. So that's why my mother was like, she talks all the time. Let's put her in ballet. And that's what she did. She was a very wise woman. And when she put me in ballet at the age of 3 years old, I had my first recital. I was a flower for Cinderella. And people were clapping and we had our bow, but I ran back out on stage and bowed again. And in that moment, I'll never forget, even that little 3-year-old inside of me, the stage is sacred for me. I felt such a peace on stage. And so my whole life was, I was like, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to be famous. And my journey was, I went to Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. I'm a Saluki, yay! And I studied speech communication. I minored in theater because I worked for 2 news stations. I ran the camera for the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news because at first I wanted to be like Oprah because I thought she was pretty dope. I was trying to get to Tennessee State University to be like Oprah Winfrey because I wanted to have the Key to Life show. And I was like, that's going to happen. But then I was like, not so much. There was a girl in my performance studies class and she was anorexic. And I saw her through her performance piece go from being a victim to a survivor. And I was like, I want. And then I also thought about growing up in church, how individuals would come to church and they would, in the beginning, they would be addicted to drugs. But through sermons, through the music, I saw people transform. So again, it goes back to the story. That the stories in the Bible, people were transformed. The testimonies that people told, they became light for others. So I was like, oh, let's go to New York University. Let's apply to be a part of the drama therapy program. And so when I went to New York, I applied to one graduate school, but my mentors were like, you should apply to more. I was like, no, I cast the vision and the dream. I was like, I'm going to New York University. And so that's where I went. And I did a year of the drama therapy program where I was fortunate to work with kids who were sexually abused using play therapy, using storytelling again with individuals who were schizophrenic. And again, I was fascinated by that. But I was young when I was in New York, so I shifted my study to education in theater because I was like, whoa, this is a lot. Because in order to be a good therapist, you have to go through that process. But sitting in my seat now, 40, being in Milwaukee, I realized that everything that I do is about healing and inspiring through the arts. And that's been my journey. It's been a beautiful journey. I've been fortunate to see different parts through my job at the Boys and Girls Club and through different opportunities. I've been fortunate to travel the country and really tell my story. But in telling my story, I hear other individuals' testimonies and stories. And one of the project that I'm probably most excited that I had the opportunity to do was in Milwaukee, where I wrote a piece called Unclothed. I interviewed over 100 women who had been sexually assaulted and collected their stories into a piece where individuals who had been raped or molested performed in the show. And we had the opportunity to perform in Madison this piece. We haven't done it in a few years. It was sponsored by the Wisconsin Arts Board, and also the Milwaukee Public Theater was the one who produced it, and we worked in conjunction with the Healing Center. That was one of the most amazing projects that I did, because it was interesting. Every time I interviewed a woman, at that time I was going through a difficult situation, and it was amazing to see a woman who had, because your body remembers what your mind forgets, and to see a woman through her story transform from victim to survivor, that she was able to take back, to unlock herself from a prison that happened to her body, was amazing. So I would start interviewing her, but by the end, I was like, how did you go from victim to survivor? How did you unlock the prison? It reminded me of a poem that Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. And just to see the women transform, I felt very blessed to be a part of their journey and to feel trusted that they shared those stories with me. So for me, I want to collect stories to help individuals who may not be able to tell their story, and give them a platform to tell their story, to be heard, to shift systems, and to be a part of the change of healing. Because in order for someone to be their greatest self, you have to go deep. And a lot of people don't like to touch the roots. I was equipped. I got the heart to touch the roots, because I'll cry with you. And in order to you have to sometimes be a wounded healer to really understand and have the ability to delve deep and touch the root of the matter. And that's an uncomfortable space for a lot of people.
You got to be able to touch the root. It's real. You got to have the heart to touch the root. That's real. It's real. I appreciate it. You had me kind of captivated there. I forgot where I was at for a second. I was all the way there. So now, what brought you to Milwaukee? That's a long journey. But what particularly brought you to Milwaukee? This may be random. I don't know. Maybe it's for the air. Maybe not. Say Fidel, that's a little too much. I don't know I don't know.
I don't mind sharing.
Okay.
What brought me to Milwaukee was love. I can say that it was genuine love. My first love brought me to Milwaukee. And what kept me in Milwaukee is love. I love what I do. I'm fortunate to, in the beginning, I didn't know why God kept me in Milwaukee, but in looking in hindsight, it grew me up. And it made me, I was always, and I think it's really important that as a leader, that transparency and vulnerability that a lot of people don't like to be, it's uncomfortable to really be vulnerable. But I had to learn. My parents loved me, my mentors loved me, but I had to learn to love Lakettas, Denise Caldwell, and know who she was without it being on stage and people clapping for her, but really know who she was for herself. And Milwaukee did that for me. Being in this city taught me how to love her, which is Laketta. And it's been a beautiful journey. It's been if I was to have a tattoo, I'll go a little personal for a second, it would be a butterfly. Because there's an amazing journey that a butterfly goes through. And the journey, the place where I stayed longer than I was supposed to was the chrysalis. And a lot of people don't want to be in the chrysalis because it's dark, it's scary. As a butterfly, you have to be pulled apart in the chrysalis to be put back together. And then you are asked to squeeze out of a tiny hole that no one can help you out of, because if they help you through that tiny hole, your wings won't work right. And so that's a lot. And I feel like I went through that chrysalis stage and came out on the other side. But we can't be afraid as leaders, as people, to go through that chrysalis phase, because everybody goes through it. And so, like I said, Milwaukee, there's love. And it taught me the different phases of love, that it's patient, it's kind, and it never fails. So I think for me, art is love. It is the heartbeat. It's my breath. It's my lifeline. If I wasn't to have art, that little 3-year-old would die, which would mean I would die on the inside. So it's my lifeline. It's how I make sense of the world. It's how, if I'm having a bad day, I always have a journal in my bag of some sort where I can write. I'll be sitting in a meeting and something across a line across my mind. I was like, oh, I gotta write this down. Or even if I'm in a meeting and someone, it's on a piece of paper, you normally see lyrics or something on the side of my paper, because again, it's how I make sense of the world.
Mm-hmm. So, in essence, the love that you received, the love that you've given in the city of Milwaukee, as we was talking a little bit when you first got here this morning, you're involved in pushing a lot of things forward with young people in the Boys and Girls Club, and you're working with a good team of people who are serious about not only pushing cultural arts forward, but infusing that with education. Like, what does that look like with education? And we're talking not in traditional school settings, but in a Boys and Girls Club community center setting. What's the importance of that? So if you had the ears of people who were listening right now and say, well, for one, as we know, in the public setting, in the public schools, and even a lot of other schools, the arts is the first thing to go and to get cut. When the money get tight, they got to cut ain't no theater program, ain't none of that. Ain't no extracurricular art activities at all. Like, you ain't getting no screen print and press situation. You're not getting no dark room to develop photos. Like, you're getting none of that fun stuff. Dance class, what with no, you getting none of that stuff. So even in a community center setting, what's the importance, and I don't even want to say the value, but what's the importance of that in our community, and how does it trickle out of the community centers? They come to the centers, and there's people that want to invest, or there's people that want to divest from the arts in these centers. What would you say to them about, like, how does this trickle back into the community when these services are delivered to these young people, and they're in these artistic or creative environments, whether it's theater, arts, drama, studio, whatever it is?
I think we lose ensemble, we lose team building, where young people in art programming have the ability to create team, to work together, to be creative. Also, we take away the ability for young people to be able to think outside of the box, because as an artist, you don't go A, B, C, D. Sometimes you go F, Z, and then you go back to A. And those thinking outside of the box, we might have a person who loves to be creative but is a doctor and has a cure to cancer. And thinking outside of the box, that individual created the cure to cancer or to a disease that we can't think of. That's what the arts do. Building. So if you take a look at art is everywhere. You look at the trees are art. When they move, they dance, and when the wind blows. Colors in every. I mean, there's so many things outside of just being on stage, and I don't think people recognize that. I was fortunate to go to Taco Bell when the Dorito taco came out, and to their headquarters. And what's amazing, that's a food scientist, but they're an artist first, because they had to figure out what kind of shell they could make that wouldn't lose the flavor of the Dorito, but make it a taco so it wouldn't get slapped. That's all art. They had to they had to draw out the rendering first, and then figure out what products. We just don't think about it. We just think of artists art as the person performing on stage, but we don't think of the science of art. And that is where we can't lose. Just yesterday, I was fortunate to sit in an African drumming class, and I actually took it with the kids because I was supposed to be observing, but then the math of it, he was like, this is a 6/8 count. So if you have a kid who really doesn't understand fractions, but you put a drum in front of them, they understand, oh, that's a whole note. Okay, so give me the 6/8 count, put out that and count it out. But then when he will transfer that back to math, because your body remembers what your mind forgets. If you get something in a kid's body, then our kids are very active. There's different learning styles. So if, like for me, for instance, it's not that I wasn't a smart child, but I was a hands-on learner. If I was able to, I'll never forget, I learned uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco from Sesame Street. If you put it in a song, I would remember it. I would never forget. Like, I know so many monologues from when I was a young child because my body remembered Bible. It's weird. Sometimes I don't go to Sunday school as much, but I know them because it's in my body. And we just have to recognize and understand what art does for young people. And if you notice, kids they always have their beats on and they're listening. Just look at a 2-year-old who knows a song backward and forward because it's music, it's art. So it gives them another tool in which to learn and the possibility of what our kids can be and how they can grab onto education through the arts is amazing. So with community learning centers, the great thing, people who, even though sometimes it's cut during that partnership between the Milwaukee Public Schools and specifically I can say the Boys and Girls Club is a unique dance where young people, if they don't have it during the school day, we as a partner, because we're a team, we're collaborative, we provide that art programming that they may not get during the school day. Or if they get it during the school day, we enhance the work that they're doing during the school day.
So we talk about that on this show as far as even how that works as far as art programs being supplemented or complemented by outside groups inside the school. You know, so a lot of times you may have artists come in and do work on a contractual basis inside the school for a protracted period of time. And so a lot of the different ways that art is delivered in education in our different schools from elementary on up, we talk about that. We talk about how we can implement it. I've had school teachers on the show from different grade levels who talk about their different experiences in the school. We talk about it from a parenting level. What does it mean for, just brain development for babies and children at home? How do you incorporate it at the kitchen table if they're not getting it at school, and if they're not going to the Boys and Girls Club or other centers to get that vision and get that creative input? How do you do it at home? As a parent, what do you do when you have a child that's like you were, 3 years old, want to dance, want to hit the stage, want to perform? How do you feed that? How do you cultivate that? And a lot of times it comes through situations where we learn what they call like best practices, even on a parenting level. It comes from exchanges like this. It comes from conversations like this. So we appreciate your time. If you're just tuning in, this is the Educational Arts Project. I have Laketta Denise Caldwell,
Yay!
on live with me right here, 101.3 Milwaukee Radio. We just getting into it, really, talking about the background journey of an artist, a performing artist who's now in the community building and helping through education and through other creative means. I told her before we started, I'm interviewing Laketta. I'm not interviewing the Boys and Girls Club. I know that's your employment place, which is dope, and what you do there and your service and how you moving and grooving over there is great, but I know you're doing a lot of things outside of there. And I don't want to limit the conversation to that. I know I do want to spread the information. If people want to learn more about how they can enroll their children or enroll their teen or youth into some of these programs through the Boys and Girls Club, what would be the best channel to do that?
Well, you can go to Facebook and go to our Boys and Girls Club
Facebook?
page.
That's
Yes.
wow, okay.
We use Facebook and we use Twitter and we're on Instagram as well.
So what they look up? Milwaukee Boys and Girls Club?
Milwaukee Boys and Girls Club, yes.
Fresh. And so what's, I saw something about a event coming up on the Southside Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, the Southside Boys and Girls Club is hosting a talent showcase. And we have 9 Boys and Girls Clubs that are on our South Side. And so they're all coming together to host a talent show. So there's going to be singing, dancing, poetry, and it's going to be a good time. And I think I was serving as an MC for that event. So I'm very excited.
Nice. So yeah, we want to, keep people informed about those kind of things. I like to announce certain events that's definitely family friendly, that's definitely free for the community if possible, that's youth related here on this show. So if you ever have things, in the future coming up, you want us to shout it out. And a lot of things, anything that's family related or parent related, that's in the centers, that's support related, resource related, don't have to be art related, but if it's some resource to the people in the community and the families of the young people, we want to promote that as well, because it's not just about isolating the young people. We really want to support the family unit, and we want to help build, our communities back. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. It's the Educational Arts Project. Speaking of that, I know, I know because she let me know, but if you don't know, you're about to know right now. All right, you can go to the YouTube channel, YouTube.com, and you can search Laketta Denise Caldwell TED Talk. All right, she's done a TED Talk, and if you don't know what those are, then catch up to what that means, and et cetera, et cetera. But she's done a TED Talk on mental health, and I watched it, and it was dynamic because, for one, again, sometimes you see people in a moving and grooving state, you don't get to see them in a performance state or on stage even. It's just a different light. So it was like I got to see a different light on stage. It's like, bam, okay. And then when she got to talking, I said, wow, this is heavy. So let's talk a little bit about that experience in general, just the whole TED Talk experience. Like, how did it come about? What did it mean for you preparing for it and then delivering such a personal and impactful testimony on that platform?
I can start there. How the TED Talk came about. I was part of the African American Leadership Program, and one of our judges for our project really encouraged me to apply in 2014. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't know if I'm ready or that I'm the one to do the TED Talk. Well, life happens, and in 2015, it was one of the greatest years of my life. 2 major community awards. I received 2 major community awards. So I was at the highest.
What awards did you receive? Let's just shout them out since it was so amazing.
It was pretty dope. The 40 Under 40 award for the Business Journal, and I was nominated for.
That's a big deal. People go crazy for that.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was until I was like, "What is this?" Again, I'm not from here. I'm like, "What is?" And my sister knew because she lives in Nashville and she's into her MBA and she has an MBA, so she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a big deal." I was like, "Oh, thank you, God." And then nominated for a Mandy Award. So it was
which people also go crazy about.
Which was super dope. I was like, and to be nominated with Venus Williams, who I look up to her.
Congratulations.
So
later,
thank
fresh.
you. I thought that was pretty cool. And so everything was going really smooth and just a lot of awesome things happening. Took a group of youth in 2015 to Washington, D.C., based for the Can You Hear Us Now program. And then life happens. So that same year, my brother committed suicide. And it was, again, so you go from the highest high to a really low low. He was my father's only son. So it was just a lot. And the only way I knew how to deal and to process was journal. So I journaled. I journaled from when I got the phone call to the funeral and even days afterwards. I just journaled. I didn't censor. I just journaled. And so I have people love me back. So I'm really fortunate to have amazing mentors and just big sisters who helped me through different stages of my life. And one of my big sisters is Sherry Williams Bennell, who is an amazing artist. She directed and wrote Bronzeville for First Stage. she was like, you need to put this together into a piece. And I'm like, no. But again, she pushed me to do it. And so I did it. And so her and Malkia and Chike created the Bronzeville Arts Ensemble. And they were like, we want to do this piece in April. And I was like, okay. So I couldn't, at that time in April, tell the story myself. So Sherry told the story as me. So it was healing. In that moment, I had the opportunity to really heal and see and cry and witness my story through someone else's lens. Then the TED Talk came around again, and the lady who pushed me the year before was like, you really should submit something for the TED Talk. So I submitted the piece to TED. I submitted it and was like, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to make it, whatever. I'm just doing it. I'm like, okay. And then I got a letter back that they wanted me to be a part of the TED Talk series in October 2016. And I was like, yay, that's awesome, let's do it. So, you go through the process. So that's a whole nother TED Talk. You go through the process of telling this story. So to write it was healing, but to put it back in your body is another part of the journey towards healing. And I had a group. There were 10 of us who did a TED Talk, and they became my family because for me, I was very humbled to sit at the table with individuals like Dr. Lacey Coppins and Raina Andrews and Emily and everybody who was at the table. I was like, because everybody's style was totally different than mine. And I was like, Lord, you want me at this table? And he's like, yep, be at the table. So we're practicing, we're going through the process. But then the day comes, I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm last. I wanted to be first. They made me go last. And I started to itch. I started to feel like I was melting down because I didn't realize that I was going, because it was very personal. This was the first time. Now, I dance around being vulnerable. I tell pieces of my testimony, but to stand before people that you don't know, because I created the program, Can You Hear Us Now, at the Boys and Girls Club, to pull out of you, to tell your story. But I had to tell my story. I had to tell in front of people that I couldn't remember the last time I talked to my brother before he took his life. That was very vulnerable. So I'm in the audience. I was like, I can't listen to anybody else, because then I went backstage and I was just like, I can't do this. I was like, this is too. So I'm crying. I mean, very transparent.
Wow.
I cried because I was like, they were fanning me. And again, I was like, Lord God, you're going to have to take the wheel because this is too much. But then when I stepped on stage, as I was telling you in the beginning, the stage is the most sacred space for me. I stepped on the stage and I felt peace. And I promise you, when I spoke, I blacked out and came back and it was over. So I can't tell you what happened after I stepped on stage. So the process of going through and really letting go, to let go on stage, I had to be present. So that's the hard part of doing the TED Talk Say Something, was because I had to be present. I couldn't check out. I had to root myself in the ground like an oak tree and really be present for the people. And really, I felt naked on stage. And it wasn't acting, because to act meant I checked out. I had to, like my grandmother told stories, I had to tell a story that was very real for me. And it was the most healing thing and healing opportunity that I've ever been fortunate and blessed to do. Afterwards, there were individuals who were black, white, Hispanic, that came and shared and unleashed very private moments in their life. So I knew that because I gave of myself, I received from other people. And this opportunity, because a lot of people in my family hadn't talked about, you know how sometimes people die and you just pack it up and they're dead and you just don't mention it. When the TED Talk came back out, my family watched it and they were able to really deal with it and not just pack it away. Because sometimes we pack things away, but the root is still there. We think it's not. And so for me, multiple things happened behind that. But I think, again, like Unclothed, Say Something was the most healing, most rewarding out of doing some film work. That was probably the most rewarding thing I've done in my life. And it just made me, it gave me the, it made me want to continue doing the work. I continue want to develop young people to understand that their story matters, but also I want to speak life. I want to speak keys to life. It's my life mission. It's my ministry work.
And so, has that, I guess, prompted other opportunities for you to tell that story, or for you to tell your story about suicide, or to share your experience in other places or anything like that?
The weekend right after I did the talk, I was invited to a church to tell the story. From that, I created a workshop that goes along with it, because for me, I have to be very mindful to open that up for individuals and not process it. That's not a good thing. So I created a workshop that goes along with the TED Talk, so I could process with individuals and provide tools. So if you are still, because it takes time. It takes time to heal and to deal with. There's people in my family who are still not healed from the because people, grief has different. I can't tell you that you'll be healed in a year or 2 years, and sometimes I still get sad. So I want to provide you with resources in the community that you can go to, and these are things that work for me, but really get you to start thinking about what are some things that work for you. So yes, I've had opportunities to talk about that, but also I've been fortunate to have other opportunities to work on different projects that help individuals to inspire them and to heal them.
That's crazy. I mean, it's like a great way to, like you said, unpack some things that a lot of times are really difficult. I think it's really powerful, and I think it should be promoted, for lack of a better word. And so I don't know if that's something you're interested in. Let me know. I can help with that, because I think it's so important. As you know, in the work that you do, including with young people, but just period outside, it's just so important that things we come in contact with, and you processed it, and like you said, you had to look at that, and that's a reflection that the world has seen that, and so that's you in a powerful place to be able to really touch some people because of that. And your goal is? My
goal is to have 1 million views. And 1 million, I say, because, and there's a reason behind 1 million, not 1 million to watch.
Y'all make some noise for 1 million views. That's a goal, but let's get it to like 10 maybe. I be seeing videos with like 700 million, and I be like, that's probably some trickery involved, but 1 million is cool. Some authentic million numbers.
And authentic million, because if you're watching it, I know that you're going to begin. I hope that you begin to have a conversation about mental illness, and that's why. I couldn't just hide it under a rug. I'm a leader. I'm a leader all day long, and I'm an athlete at heart. So I'm competitive, and I want us to begin to have that conversation about mental illness, and that mental illness isn't bad. Just like being diabetic, you have to take medicine, and sometimes you might have to take medicine and get help. We have to have those conversations, because it's in the church, it's in the schools, and people feel like they don't have a place to go, or individuals to talk to get the help that they need. So if I can use what happened in my family as a platform to begin the dialogue, to get individuals who need help to go get the help they need, I hope that I can save a life. That's really important. That's really what the platform for Say Something is all about. Anything I talk about is really to inspire individuals to live. You can't walk in your purpose if your roots aren't right. So I want to get the roots right. I want people to be healed, because everybody's purpose has the ability to transform and change the world. That I truly believe that.
That's
and,
real. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real. I want you to also just quickly talk about how some of those issues and conversations about mental health and solutions, referencing where people could go, what people can do, what friends can say, what family has to recognize. How can we include some of that into the creative arts and educational programs that happen in school and after school? How can we start as families, start to talk about that at the dinner table? How can we come back to the dinner table? Just share your perspective on solutions on that level.
I could really use my family for one. So when they saw the TED Talk, it was a safe way to bring up what had happened. And so they watched the TED Talk. My cousin Neil called the same day, and he was like, "Cuz, how did you," because he's a counselor. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Cuz, how did you even do that?" And he was like, that's exactly how I was feeling, even though I was sitting on the third row, you were sitting on the second. So it began a dialogue. So sometimes it may be as simple as watching a movie or a video and just having a simple conversation afterwards. With art, with young people, or just art in general, maybe it's, okay, so when you're having a bad day, something as simple as, what colors can you use? What color do you think that evokes? And that just starting from a safe space, because we have to recognize it's not an easy, it's a pretty heavy issue. So just starting with color, and then from color, can you describe what that feeling was that you were? So that's safe. That's a real easy, safe space to do it. I love what the Milwaukee Repertory did with the show Disgrace, having dinner, because food always makes things better. You feel safe with food. And I loved the person that they had at the table, where you felt safe enough to share information about yourself. So I think having more opportunities like that to create, I walked away from that like, oh, that's not what I thought that person was going to say. So it made me write and really think about, Laketta, what areas do you need to grow in? Art is a safe space to do that, and to take a look at things that are, if you talk about it directly, it's a little hard to digest, but through art, through a play, you can stomach it better.
Spoken word, or through a rap, or through all of those different means of expression is so important, and we have to facilitate more of that, especially within the communities, because it's going to go somewhere. The energy is going to come out somehow. So we do need to figure out as many healthy ways for that energy to be expressed, for those feelings and emotions to be shared as much as possible. So that leads me to say, tell us about some of your functions that you got coming up. I know you shared the beauty in brokenness that's coming up in May. And what is this about?
I love Unity Gospel House of Prayer. That's the church that I attend under the leadership of Pastor Marlon Locke. We are having our women's conference, and it's May 4th through the 6th. We're kicking it off with our First Lady, Kimberly Locke. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's going to be a night through the fine arts. So there's going to be a mime dance. There is going to be a spoken word piece. I'm telling a story.
Okay, I know you didn't say Mayan.
No, mime. That's my southern accent.
Okay.
It's kicking in.
All right. Okay, I was being funny.
No.
I know you didn't say Mayan.
No.
Because if it was a Mayan mime dance, that'd be pretty crazy.
No, I was like, oh, my southern accent. Okay, I need coffee. But there's going to be a mime dance, and I am doing a drama piece telling the story of Leah. And Leah is the sister of Rachel. And they had Leah loved Joseph, but Joseph loved Rachel more. So that piece is called Good Enough. And
hold on once, because you're not talking about some love and hip hop type stuff.
It was kind of like some love and hip hop.
But this is a Bible story.
It's a Bible story.
Okay.
And
so hold on, because people probably heard Joseph's name before. People may have not heard Leah and Rachel. Why is this story significant?
Well, they're sisters. And Joseph wanted to marry Rachel, and the father tricked him into marrying Leah.
Whose father?
Rachel and Leah's father tricked Joseph.
Were they identical twins?
No, they weren't. So I'm not going to tell you. If you want to know the whole story, go to Genesis 29, so you can really get it. But it's these two sisters who love the same man, but he loves only one of them. And Leah, she really, her story really fascinated me because she didn't know, she thought a man could make her good enough. And so many of us women, we hate each other because we don't like ourselves and we're not confident in the woman that we were created to be. And we can't be for no man until the first ship is a self ship. And we can't be for anybody else until we're for ourselves. And so the issue, and Rachel is interesting too, but that wasn't the story that I was led to tell. So I'm going to play the character Leah and tell her story and tell her journey. And this piece is called Good Enough. After that, we have a lady who's going to sing a song, and then Kim, First Lady Kim, is going to preach the entire story of Rachel and Leah. So that's the first night. It's going down. It's going to be awesome because we need women to be whole because we're life givers. We give life, and we can't support and be for the family if we don't love ourselves and we're working. So many, and that bothers me a little bit, so many women talk about how they only date along with men better than they do women. And we have to learn to love each other and to really work together. So that's what this conference is about. There's beauty in brokenness, and to be able to, like I was saying with this death of my brother, to really own our brokenness and be our test. It's a test that we went through, but it's light for somebody. What we go through is not for us, but it's for somebody else. And so the 3-day weekend, we were really going to really delve deep and really work on building ourselves up so we can be the life bearers of the community.
That's amazing, and I really like the sound of everything you're saying, and I agree everything you're saying. So are any men allowed to come?
Our men, yes, on Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Yes.
But you can't come Thursday,
no,
fellas. All right, that's just for the women.
Yes.
Just for the record, tell people how they can find out more information about this 3rd annual women's conference coming up in May.
You can go to our website at unitygospel.org.
Unitygospel.org. And that's a little ways out. So even if you want to maybe communicate back with me about this up until then, like if you have something that you want to announce or anything that you want to share with the people about how they can get involved, maybe volunteer, maybe if they want to come and support, that sounds like a great event for women and for the family, because like you said, the women are life givers. They're the first teachers, and that's if the women is whole, then the family is whole. Yes. And so you just gave me some homework. I'll be looking up Genesis 29, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your realness and your willingness to share right here on the Educational Arts Project. I think a lot of our work and a lot of our general duties in regards to solving problems is about sharing our stories with each other. The people that I've brought on this show and on this platform, have shared some phenomenal stories and some phenomenal wisdom. And like I said before, make sure you check out the archive episodes. Make sure you go back and learn about all of the different initiatives and things that's happening in Milwaukee and the people and involved. And get yourself up, get yourself into it, get yourself, engaged with everything that's popping, because it's moving. And you got somebody that's not even from here telling you how much love it is, and she can't leave here. And we might not let her leave. We might have to negotiate with some people. I don't know. We might have to really make some negotiations before we let you go. I don't know, but that's what it's about. And people from all over the world is tuned in right now. 101.3 live. We are online. We are on the internet. We are on the airwaves, and we're about to get in the streets. We're about to get to work. We're about to get back to it. You got a busy day?
I do. I have a very busy day.
I know how it go. It don't stop and it don't quit. You got any last words?
Let peace reside within your soul because this high pressure front has the weather feeling cold. Let peace reside within your soul because this high pressure front has the weather feeling cold. Yo, it's a facade like those claiming love is I. Walking around hard like they're mad at God. You gotta let peace reside within your soul because this high pressure front has the weather feeling cold.
Damn. That was not planned for the record. I had no idea that was coming, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all gotta love it. Make sure you tune in each and every Thursday. You never know what you're gonna get. It's never a sleeper episode right here, the Educational Arts Project. Thank you so much, Lakettas.
Bye.
Peace. Let's go out with some Biggie, man, so we can like celebrate one of the best who ever did it. The Notorious Big. He passed away today, many years ago. I'm not exactly sure how many. March 9th. It's going down today. It's a busy day, but you know we started explosive, and we appreciate everybody who tuned in, and hopefully you inspired and motivated to do some great things, not only today, but you know for the rest of your days. Do some great things, be inspired, and make sure you tune in next Thursday. I got another special guest each week. My guest list is crazy, Lakettas.
Who's next week?
I can't tell. I never tell.
You won't tell?
I never tell.
Oh.
I never tell. Nope, can't do that. We have to make sure that people are like, you know, caught off guard and hit with that element of explosive surprise, shock and awe.
Okay.
They didn't even
Can
see
you
it
give us
coming.
a guess?
They didn't even see it coming.
Can you give us a guess?
It's a woman.
Ooh.
And she's dope. Just like last week, just like this week, just like week before, just like every week on the Educational Arts Project. That's the goal. We make that official, you know. So if you know some people, which you know, actually the lady, the woman who you brought up about the Bronzeville play, I can't remember her name.
Sherry Williams.
Her name has come up several times on the show from different guests. So I'm gonna put a request in for you if you could reach out, maybe connect us through maybe an email introduction or something. Because her name has come up. People say, you gotta have her on here, you gotta have her on here. I would love to have her on here.
She's my big sister.
That's dope. See, I would love to have her on here. And I know you know a lot of other dope creators. It's like, you know, a lot of great sisters put in a lot of great work, but they don't even want to step to the mic. It's not about that. You know, it's not about sharing, but I want to create a platform for that to be able to happen. Well, we have created a platform for that to happen. And for the people that are really making things happen on the background and nurturing from a whole nother level to be able to come and share what that's about.
Cool.
So if you know some people that may be interested, and we say that always, every week to the whole listening audience, everybody out there, you know, we've got some of our guests come from you listeners. Thank you very much for making great suggestions, actually. And big shout out to Rain Truth. Last week we did a telephone interview that went dope, and I got a lot of great feedback about the interview we did last week. Josh, that went through well. People appreciated that. Even though it was on the phone, we had a couple technical issues, but it went through and it was great. That was the first time doing a telephone interview. So they don't even have to be in Milwaukee. If there's some people in some other places, you know, we want to start branching out to some of our friends and familias in other places that are doing great things, because we can learn so much from different environments. Whatever's working in other places, we can help incorporate some of those solutions here in the city. We need it. You know, we're in a weird place in the city. It's a weird situation, so we need all the solutions we can get. You know what I mean? That's why we always say thank you to all the underwriters, all the sponsors, people that support the station and make it possible. Because it's all about solutions, giving the community a voice to come forward, to step up, and to share information, to share education, to share that understanding that help us navigate out here, whether it's business, whether it's community, whether it's arts, whether it's family, you know, economics on a level of emergency out here in these streets. These people, you know, it's deep out here. And so in Milwaukee, you have a lot of great leaders stepping up. Yeah, like my guest today. Thank you again, Mr. Lakettas. We're gonna go out like this. I see I was just rambling, like stalling for Josh, you know what I mean? But it's all good. It was all good, baby. This goes out to the Notorious B.I.G., the only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. Yeah. They didn't even know you rapped, Lakettas. They didn't know that.
I don't rap.
They didn't know you had bars. They didn't know that. Next time I'm gonna see you, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
We with some youth. I'm gonna say, yo, did y'all know she got bars?